Terrified residents of Fukushima were woken early Tuesday as strong tremors hit the region. An earthquake of 7.4 magnitude had struck off the coast, triggering a tsunami warning. Witnesses described sustained shaking in the capital, Tokyo, 240 kilometers away. The quake happened in the same area as the one that devastated Fukushima in 2011. A subsequent tsunami then killed thousands of people. This time, an immediate tsunami warning was issued, but it was downgraded a few hours later.
Please move away from the shorelines. Please do not go out to see the ocean or the shorelines. Please move away as far as possible.
The Fukushima's nuclear power plant's third reactor stopped working, but officials say there are no damage reported. The operator, Tokyo Electric Power, has been carrying out safety checks at the plant. The same plant was severely damaged in 2011, with radiation leaks forcing the evacuation of more than 100,000 people.
A 5.6 magnitude earthquake hit central New Zealand early Tuesday morning. It happened just off the coast of the North Island at a depth of more than 20 miles. Initial reports describe only minimal damage. It happened just a week after a powerful magnitude 7.8 quake rocked the country, triggering landslides and killing 2 people. There have been more than 1,000 aftershocks since then.
Winds gusting up to 50 miles an hour and deep snow pummeled upstate New York, blinding drivers and sending dozens of vehicles careening off the road. It was a frigid snap from the day before when Rochester and Watertown basked in 70-degree heat. Jefferson County Sheriff Colleen O'Neill.
Everybody went from short sleeves and shorts to mittens and hats.
The first major lake-effect storm of the season dropped as much as an inch of snow an hour. The same storm whipped through Minnesota and Michigan, giving Wolverine football fans a snowy celebration in Ann Arbor. By Monday afternoon, Lacona, New York was buried in over 2 feet of snow, jackknifing this tractor trailer. This is the Tug Hill region of New York, the snowiest place in America last year. The timing is not great for people in this region because the start of the holiday travel season is today. When you see the weather report showing snow, what goes through your mind?
Cars in the ditch, here we go.
Jefferson County Deputy Steve Gruber has been busy since 5 this morning. How dangerous are winter driving conditions here relative to other places in the country?
This is the worst I've ever seen.
And US President-elect Donald Trump outlined some of his plans for his first 100 days in office in a video released on Monday.
My agenda will be based on a simple core principle: putting America first. Whether it's producing steel, building cars, or curing disease, I want the next generation of production and innovation to happen right here on our great homeland, America, creating wealth and jobs for American workers. As part of this plan, I've asked my transition team to develop a list of executive actions we can take on day one to restore our laws and bring back our jobs. It's about time. These include the following. On trade, I am going to issue our notification of intent to withdraw from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a potential disaster for our country. Instead, we will negotiate fair bilateral trade deals that bring jobs and industry back onto American shores. On energy, I will cancel job-killing restrictions on the production of American energy, including shale energy and clean coal, creating many millions of high-paying jobs. That's what we want. That's what we've been waiting for. On regulation, I will formulate a rule which says that for every 1 new regulation, 2 old regulations must be eliminated. So important. On national security, I will ask the Department of Defense and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff to develop a comprehensive plan to protect America's vital infrastructure from cyber attacks and all other form of attacks. On immigration, I will direct the Department of Labor to investigate all abuses of visa programs that undercut the American worker. On ethics reform, as part of our plan to drain the swamp, we will impose a 5-year ban on executive officials becoming lobbyists after they leave the administration, and a lifetime ban on executive officials lobbying on behalf of a foreign government. These are just a few of the steps we will take to reform Washington and rebuild our middle class.
The Obama administration is reportedly considering new measures to strengthen the controversial nuclear deal with Iran. This is what the Wall Street Journal is saying, that the measures include steps to provide licenses for more American businesses to enter Iran and the lifting of additional sanctions.
And to Fox News Alert, we've been following shock and anger this morning as 4 police officers are ambushed in shootings across 3 states in less than 24 hours. 3 officers shot in Florida and Missouri are expected to survive. But one of the shootings was deadly. A San Antonio detective was gunned down while writing a traffic ticket.
Well, Heather, we're learning a little bit more. It happened, ironically, not far at all from San Antonio Police Headquarters in downtown San Antonio yesterday morning when the 50-year-old police officer had executed a traffic stop. He was sitting inside his patrol car writing a ticket. That is when investigators say a different vehicle pulled up behind the officers, the one not involved in the initial stop. Police say a man jumped out of it, ran up to the squad car, and opened fire, killing Detective Benjamin Marconi. Marconi was a 20-year veteran with the San Antonio Police Department. Now, police desperately searching for the person who killed him.
Exclusive video of a terror suspect being arrested in Brooklyn accused of wanting to plan an attack on New York City.
And we've got details about this arrest. They're still coming in at this hour, but here's what we know right now. The suspect is a legal U.S. resident, and he traveled to Yemen and tried to join the terror group ISIS.
He told an informant he wanted to plan an attack on Times Square similar to the attack in Nice.
Breaking news overseas, authorities arresting at least 7 people in a terror raid concerned they were plotting an attack in France.
Afghan, French, and of Moroccan descent. The concern is they perhaps were going to target a Christmas celebration, perhaps a Christmas market in Strasbourg. Concern that would be something that could play out similar to what we saw last year in Paris, horrific attacks.
Yes, indeed. And with the holiday season coming, a lot of Americans travel abroad. Are there any threats there, any concerns?
There's still a worldwide travel alert for Americans, particularly in Europe.
On Monday, the State Department issued an alert to U.S. citizens about a heightened risk of terrorist attacks throughout Europe. The alert particularly highlighted the holiday season, adding that there was credible information that Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, and their affiliates continued to plan attacks in Europe. It said in a statement, U.S. citizens should exercise caution at holiday festivals, events, and outdoor markets. The department noted extremists had carried out attacks in Belgium, France, Germany, and Turkey in the past year. It remains concerned about the potential for attacks throughout Europe. The statement said, U.S. citizens should exercise vigilance when attending large holiday events, visiting tourist sites, using public transportation, and frequenting places of worship, restaurants, hotels, etc. It said the travel alert expires on February 20th, 2017.
Europeans, and I include Britain in this, need to now start from the assumption that the United States is no longer an absolutely reliable partner. There needs to be a reconvening of...
That is a huge thing to say. I mean, that
it is a huge thing to
enormous.
say, and I think it's very important to keep repeating that until it begins to sink into people's brains.
You don't think that we actually have a special relationship? And indeed, the fact that we have done the Brexit thing and they've done the Trump thing, and it's a sort of says...
No, there's no reason that you have a special relationship with Donald Trump. He's not an Anglophile. He's not interested, in Britain. I mean, Hillary Clinton does and would. But he does not. Right. So, we're talking about what needs to happen is that Europeans need to face up to what's going on, and whether it's going to be a European army or whether it's rethinking what NATO means or whether it's some new structure altogether, the idea of European defense needs to be thought through from the beginning, starting now.
The EU must also gear up the defence research programme and start developing a common European capabilities and armament policy. We need to strengthen the industrial and technological base of our defence sector in order to decrease dependency on third parties.
The Russian president has pledged to take countermeasures in response to what he calls NATO's eastward expansion. Vladimir Putin made the promise in an interview due to air later on Monday. Putin acknowledged that Russia's reaction to the latest developments in NATO has been, quote, emotional. The Russian leader, however, stressed that this type of reaction is justified as Moscow is concerned over NATO's recent decisions.
The Russian military has deployed a new missile system to the Baltic region in a tit-for-tat move to the U.S.-led NATO missile deployment. In Eastern Europe, according to the Interfax news agency, the military has stationed Bastion missile launchers in the Kaliningrad exclave bordering Poland and Lithuania. Moscow is also planning to deploy S-400 missiles and the nuclear-capable Iskander projectiles in the country's westernmost region. The Kremlin says the deployment is in response to threats posed by a planned U.S. missile system near the Russian border. Meanwhile, the U.S. has slammed the Russian deployment, saying it would destabilize European security.
The deployment of Iskander and S-400 missiles to Kaliningrad is destabilizing to European security. Russia has made threats to move Iskander missiles to Kaliningrad now for the past decade in response to a variety of developments in Europe, none of which demand such a military response.
Kirby made the remarks during a White House briefing. He called on Moscow to refrain from, quote, words or deeds that are inconsistent with the goal of promoting security and stability. This is while the Kremlin believes that the U.S.-led NATO military buildup near its borders is aimed at encircling Russia.
క్షిపణుల నుంచి రెండింటిని ఎంపిక చేసుకుని ఒడిశా చాందీపూర్లోని సమీకృత పరీక్షా కేంద్రం నుంచి నిర్వహించిన పరీక్ష విజయవంతమైనట్టు రక్షణ వర్గాలు తెలిపాయి. రక్షణ పరిశోధన
Iran's Navy commander says the country's 44th Naval Squadron has for the first time sailed around the African continent and passed through the Atlantic Ocean. Iran's Navy commander, Rear Admiral Habibullah Sayari, said the squadron is comprised of the Bushehr logistic warship and the Al-Vand destroyer. He said the Iranian Navy's vessels have now docked at the port of Durban in South Africa. Sayari added that Iranian destroyers have been equipped with long-range surface-to-surface missiles. The 44th Squadron of the Iranian Navy set off for the high seas on October the 5th to protect maritime routes used by the country's vessels and oil tankers against pirates.
The Israel Military Industries showcased some of its latest products over the weekend to representatives from 17 foreign nations. Among the several weapons that were shown off were the Magic Spear, which is a new 160mm precision-guided rocket, and a large 155mm artillery ammunition shell, both of which accurately hit their targets during the demonstration. Both the Magic Spear rocket and the 155mm shell have been sold and used by foreign militaries in recent years, but the demonstration was meant to expand the list of customers. The IDF, meanwhile, has yet to purchase the shell and rocket, but it did acquire other arms from the IMI for the artillery corps. The Magic Spear rocket, with a range of up to 40 kilometers, and the new artillery shell both include accuracy components, including a GPS. Magic Spear is based on an advanced piloting system based on tiny rocket engines and has a 10-meter accuracy range.
के लिए हमारे पास पैसा नहीं है तो हमारी जो प्रोड्यूसर्स है उसको नकद में हमको पैसा मिले.
Bolivia's government has declared a national emergency due to a lack of water as it suffers the worst drought in 25 years. The country's capital receives water for just 3 hours a day as reservoirs run dry. President Evo Morales said the country must prepare for the worst. The water shortages have prompted angry protests in major cities and conflicts between miners and farmers over the use of wells.
To Norwegian news outlets, Norway's government is slashing this year's contribution to a Clinton Foundation offset by 80% from last year. Now, from 2007 to 2013, Norway's contribution to the Clinton Health Access Initiative averaged about 40 million kroner a year. That's about $4.7 million. Then in 2014, it jumped to $15 million. And in 2015, peaked at $20 million. In 2016, Hillary Clinton lost the presidency, and Norway's planned annual contribution has dropped down to $4.2 million. Coincidence?
Members of Turkey's ruling Justice and Development Party have given preliminary approval for a bill that will clear men accused of raping underage girls if they agree to marry the girls. There is also a second condition, that the sex was consensual without force or threat. Turkish lawmakers will debate the bill a second time before a final vote scheduled to take place on Tuesday.
The proposed bill has caused an uproar in Turkey. Many believe girls, especially abuse victims, will be forced into marriage.
Child sex abuse, by definition, cannot be committed without coercion, threat, or deceit. Children who fell victim to sex abuse will now be forced into child marriage and will be subject to serious pressure to extract consent to marriage out of them.
Well, a major announcement from Pope Francis allowing Catholic priests to forgive women who have had abortions.
Hey, John, well, this is part of Pope Francis transforming the Catholic Church into his vision of mercy, as he announces that from now on, any rank-and-file priest, not just bishops, can absolve a woman who confesses to having an abortion. Pope Francis made the declaration in an apostolic letter as he concluded the extraordinary Holy Year of Mercy. It extends indefinitely what had been a year-long act of grace for what the Church calls a grave sin. Francis writing, "There is no sin that God's mercy cannot reach and wipe away when it finds a repentant heart seeking to be reconciled." Now, the grace is not only extended to the women who've had abortions, but their partners and medical staff who've participated in the procedure. The letter also makes clear that the Church has not lessened its view on the sacredness of life. Francis also writing, "I wish to restate as firmly as I can that abortion is a grave sin, since it puts an end to an innocent life."
The Catholic Church in Rwanda has apologized for its part in the country's genocide. In 1994, Hutu extremists killed roughly 800,000 ethnic Tutsi and moderate Hutu who opposed the genocide. A statement from the Conference of Catholic Bishops on Sunday admitted members of the church helped plan and carry out some of the attacks. A number of priests, nuns, and clergymen killed those seeking refuge in churches. For years after the genocide, the local church refused to admit its role in it. In their statement, the bishops asked for forgiveness and said Rwanda's people are one family. So far, the Catholic Church as a whole hasn't officially admitted the exact roles its members had in the massacre.
Poor puppy, poor police officer. What a precious picture of Officer Kareem Garibaldi fast asleep right next to this little one. Apparently, the dog was running loose around a Florida neighborhood with no identification. Garibaldi, who almost ran it over, searched for the owner but never found them. Instead of abandoning it, at the end of his third 12-hour shift, he brought the pet to the SPCA. Someone on staff then took this cute Candid.
There was this officer and this puppy. It was amazing. I looked at that and said, oh, this is just melting my heart, not realizing what a great photo it was going to be until after the fact.
Later that day, the pup found a new home, proving a hard day's work pays off in the end.